Hey guys, Thrasher here. I'm finally back from Miami and we have some V-Jump scans to look at, so let's talk about it right now. Okay, so first up, before we jump into the scan, happy Easter to anyone that celebrates it, and to anyone that doesn't, happy Sunday. I hope you're having a good weekend. So let's jump into this scan right here. I know that these actually came out about 2 days ago, day and a half ago. I wasn't around, and I feel like some people that have done the scans, they've done a good job, but they've missed a few things, and there are a few extra things I want to throw in here. So the first thing we should do is talk about, this is going to be for Ultra Space Time number 12, which means that these characters are not going to be coming out for close to another month, at least 3 weeks or so. As we know, USTs don't really overlap a lot. They have about a week overlap, sometimes a little bit less than that. So when UST 11 is about to end, that's when we should see these guys. Normally it comes out on a Wednesday, but not always. So that's generally when you should expect it, is the Wednesday before UST 11 is going to end. Probably when we'll see these two guys. Let's talk about them. One more thing to mention before we talk about these two guys is normally an Ultra Space Time banner does have 3 new characters. That's not guaranteed. Normally the case, so we'll probably have one more character that's not on this scan that does come as a new character. Now, first up, let's talk about the Legendary Super Saiyan Broly, and then we can move into the Metal Cooler. So the Legendary Super Saiyan Broly, let's pull up the translation by Goresh here. He says Legendary Super Saiyan Broly's super attack is the Eraser Cannon. He nullifies enemy attacks other than some special arts cards. He also reduces damage taken via cover, sustained damage cut. And it also states here that these characters are specializing in defense and they're going to arrive in UST 12. So we know the Broly is going to be a defensive character. He's probably going to be Super Saiyan tagged, which means he'll fit on the Holy Trinity team. And the great thing there is the Holy Trinity team doesn't have a lot of options for defense. They're all pretty much damage at the moment, which gives them not a ton of utility outside of the purple Broly, who obviously has a huge amazing kit, but they need a more defensive unit. So if you run this Broly, the purple Broly, and then obviously you have to run the Super Saiyan Bardock, then you could have a very well-rounded, very powerful Holy Trinity team. And then we should talk about his actual stats. As you'll see on the right side of the screen, I have put up a translated stat chart so that as you look at the stat chart in the actual scan, you know what each of the different points mean. He's got very good HP, very good strike attack, not great ki blast, good defensive stats because he's a defensive unit, that makes sense, and then his ki regen is not amazing. So he's going to be a strike-based unit, which could be good, could be bad. Probably going to be okay. I think it'd be much better if he were blast-based, just because the purple Broly is blast-based, and if you have 2 blast-based characters, you can get a lot of ki blast cards and really pump out some damage. The fact that they're split like that means that you're not going to get as many of one very highly focused card. You're going to get more of an even split, whereas you'd prefer all strike cards or all blast cards. So he doesn't synergize on the attack side as well as you'd like him to with your major damage dealer on that team. But that's just how that works out. Let's move into Metal Cooler. So Goresh is telling us that Metal Cooler's super attack is the lock-on buster, and he thrives in long, drawn-out battles. So he's going to be the opposite of a lot of characters that we've seen recently, where they're super strong for 40 counts, for 60 counts, and then they die off. This is a character that does extremely well if you have more of a marathon match that goes 60, 80, 100 counts, 120 counts, which is nice because the regen team is still around and they can draw those matches out pretty long. This character should be able to tear up a regen team pretty well, because that's what they do. They draw those matches out. So let's talk about the next thing. He destroys a random amount of arts cards in the opponent's hand and inflicts attribute downgrades every time your opponent uses an arts card. He has great defensive and healing capabilities. So I don't know if that means his green card is going to heal him or if he just has a natural regeneration. Doesn't say there, it just says that he has great healing capabilities. But one of the key things here that I think we want to pay attention to is the fact that he applies attribute downgrades to your opponent when your opponent is using cards. So as your opponent is attacking you, they're actually hurting themselves. So that's a unique and very cool support technique that he has, or support ability. And then the other thing is the fact that he can get rid of one of your or multiple of your opponent's arts cards. The only real issue I have with that, like I've stated in multiple videos, it's the same issue I have with the purple Turles, is I don't like RNG. I want to generally know how many arts cards I'm going to be getting rid of, so I can kind of factor that into my strategy. If I know for a fact that it's going to get rid of 2 arts cards, I'm going to try and set it up so that I can do 2 back-to-back. If it may just be 1, if it may be all 4, then I don't need to do 2 back-to-back. But there's no way for me to know that, because 1, it's RNG, and 2, I'm not going to get any feedback of how many cards got destroyed, so I don't know if I need to keep using whatever it does that actually destroys those arts cards, or if I should be saving it, which is a little bit annoying. It feels kind of like like you're going to be playing in the dark, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Maybe there is a way to know that. Maybe it is a little more consistent than what I'm thinking it's going to be, but we'll know more once the card comes out. And then near the bottom, we don't have a great translation for this, but essentially Goresh says it's hard to make out what's on the bottom left, but it looks like something new that has to do with creating new equipment and sending a new kind of message in PvP after the battles, and something possibly with titles. So more titles are coming out. We're going to get more PvP messages, and I'm assuming the equipment stuff has to do with the awakening of equipment, and they're just going to be add more awakening stuff. So I don't think there's anything crazy new in that bottom left corner. I think what it's saying is all of the fairly new quality of life or content changes, whatever you want to call those things that have broadened the game out a little bit, we're going to be getting more of those, more titles, more equipment, upgrading more equipment, awakening, and then they're going to broaden out the way that we can communicate with people in PvP. So that's cool. And then to jump back to Metal Cooler real quick, we did miss one thing. I want to make sure to mention this. Again, looking at his chart, if you look at the chart on the right, it's translated in English. You can see that he has very good HP and defense stats, and he also has pretty good key regen. The problem is he doesn't specialize in strike or blast, and his strike and blast damage are going to be pretty middle of the road. So I don't think he's going to be a character that you use really as a damage dealer. I think he's going to be one of those Outlast characters that just does fair damage the whole time, slowly whittles your opponent down, and then he has lots of support abilities that can get rid of your opponent's attacks, debuff your opponent, do things of that nature. So he's more of a defensive support unit than a defensive unit who can also pump out a little bit of damage. So just keep that in mind. And I think that's pretty much it for this V-Jump scan. If you guys think I missed anything, throw it down below. And one little side note, outside of V-Jump scans, I just want to keep in mind for everyone that may have forgot about it or may not have even known, there is going to be an increase in RP that you get as you do rated PvP over the next 2 weeks. So we have a 3-week PvP here, and in week 2 you get double RP, in week 3 you get triple RP. So if you are not doing PvP yet, make sure that you're doing it for sure near the end of the PvP season, because you're going to get huge bonuses to the amount of RP that you'll get. And that's pretty much it for this video. If you guys like this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.